Welcome back to the Redeeming the Game podcast. I'm your host, Coach Matt Sanders, and today's topic, coaching isn't fixing, it's forming, can be seen as powerful and also subtle. And so to start the conversation today, I want to make it clear who we're talking to. We are talking to coaches. This podcast is directed at coaches, but everybody in some kind of fashion in the working world, if you're leading, you are doing some sort of coaching. So I want to speak to that today. Coaching isn't fixing, it's forming. And so as I'm talking about this and the mindset behind it, what I want to start with, especially when it comes to people working for you in the workforce, or more importantly, your coaches, your players, you weren't designed to, called to fix them, right? Coaching is a calling, and calling, as we know, is the definition of that is, it is your occupation. The coaching side of what you do is the occupation. And so you were never meant and designed inside the calling of coaching to fix players. You were called to be former. You're going to form their minds. You're going to form their hearts. You're going to form their abilities to play. You're going to form their abilities to execute. That's your job. That's the direction that your life as their authoritative leader is given. The calling, again, it's not to fix them, it's to form them. So let's give some examples of that. If they've got bad footwork, fix it. If they've got a bad attitude, bench them. If they make a bad decision, correct it loud. One more time. These are so good. Think about this. As a coach, if they've got bad footwork, I got to fix it. If they've got a bad attitude, I've got to bench them. If they make a bad decision, I've got to correct it really loudly. And underneath all of that is this urgency of fear, unrealistic expectation on us as coaches, and fear that if we don't correct it fast, we will lose control of them. And fear that if they don't improve now, we would look like we don't know what we're doing or we're incompetent. But what does formation do? Formation doesn't move at the speed of our insecurities. Formation is slow. And so what I want to stop and say from a biblical standpoint, knowing that we're redeeming the game through the way that Dr. Naismith created it by the direction of the God of the universe, that we are winning men and women to the Master Jesus through the gym. Jesus never led out of fear. He never coached out of fear, because fear at its core, it always brings with it the anticipation of punishment. That's what fear does. The scripture says that perfect love, or a mature love, it removes, it puts fear out the door. Because fear in itself it lends itself for us to feel. I know that's how my son feels when I raise my voice at him when he's not doing something. He's made a bad decision, so I raise my voice and immediately I'm doing it loud, so therefore he feels. Fear, if at its core, if it's your motivator, then your players are always going to play from that. And I can tell you that I spent 25 years coaching that way. And let me tell you why it doesn't work. It doesn't work post the game and post the practice, because they're always going to feel like they're walking on eggshells around you. They're always going to feel like they're walking on pins and needles around you. And I know that my players would say that, because I always felt like I had an edge to me because of the insecurity that I had, that I couldn't fix them, that led to me coaching and teaching them out of fear, not formation. And really the shift came in my life when God came in and said, I'm going to remove the fear that you feel like I'm mad at you all the time and that I am going to punish you all the time. I died for all of that. Those things have been cast away. I love you exactly how you are and exactly how you're going to be. So that makes me a being loved or a beloved child of the God of the universe. And that changed everything for me. It made me see leading my players from a place of love and not fear completely differently. It affected the way that I saw the whole game. And so in retirement now, this is the message I'm trying to send to coaches. I'm not saying you can't be passionate. I'm not saying you can't be loud. I'm not saying you can't be exuberant. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you can be those things without fear. You can lead and tell them, if these things don't happen, consequences are coming. See, consequences should not be attached to fear. They should be attached to reverence. Right? If I am not walking in the identity that the Lord's given me, He says that I have redeemed you by the blood of the Lamb and my Son's sacrifice. The consequences of not doing that are things that are outside of how He designed me. Therefore, I'm going to receive those consequences. I'm not afraid that He's doing them. I'm afraid that He's loving. I am not afraid that He's loving me in them. In fact, that's what He's doing. He is loving me in them. So, let's circle back to where we are. We are formation coaches. The scripture that comes to mind is that He is the potter and we are the clay. He is always forming us. He has even remade us another. He didn't create something different. He just made it new. So we are not managing behavior. We are shaping men and women. See, God isn't managing your behavior as a coach. He is shaping you into His identity, to look like Him, to be Christ-like. The definition of a Christian in its original form was little Christ ones, looking like little Christ ones, like we're His brothers and sisters. So as you do that, you don't lead from fear. You lead from a place of love, an identity of love. And so as we're shaping, if you know anything about making a pot out of clay, it doesn't come in a hurry. It takes the water and the spinning and the movement of the hands and the potter knowing how the shape is going to be made. And then at the end, there's some refinement that comes there, but most importantly, there's time. The formation of a kid, it doesn't happen like that. The formation of you as a coach doesn't happen like that. It takes time. And we live in this clock time, and God is outside of time. He doesn't work on a clock or a calendar. His timing is always perfect. It's never off. And so as we do this as coaches, let's be clear. We are formation specialists. Maybe that's how we should coin the next coaching phrase. I'm a formation specialist. My job is to form their hearts, to form their minds. My role, not my job. My job is to coach. My purpose is to form their hearts, to form their minds, to form their hearts, to form their game. So let's take a breath here and let's look at some scripture. Philippians 1:6 says, "He who began a good work in you will carry it all the way to completion." Boom. How does this not speak straight to you in the formation of a pot by the potter? He who begins that work is faithful to complete it. He is going to carry it all the way out. God forms you and me slowly. You as a coach form that player slowly, layer by layer, season by season. And sometimes it feels like we're being pulled apart in a hurry. Again, God's timing. But with the players, we are transformation specialists. We are forming them. You're not fixing them. But now looking back on it, the fear that I coached from, it was never meant to harm them. And yet, had I known then what I know now, I would have slowed down and said, my role is to slowly form your heart and your mind. And so I just want to be clear about that. If our purpose is being illuminated in coaching, we will coach from a place of our beloved, our being loved by the Father no matter what we've done, and He has forgiven us. And that becomes our identification piece. We trust process over panic. We walk in our beloved identity, our being loved no matter what we've done. We walk into that, and that becomes who we are all the way through, so our purpose shines. And we trust the process, the seed planting over panic. Because in the game, when the game arises and the adverse moments come to us in the game, it is extremely easy to panic because you try to fix it. And I think a great way to look at it, and I think you coaches will definitely agree with this, the best managers of the game of basketball that are coaches on the sidelines are the ones who play the game of chess. And chess is slow. And it's one move at a time. You can't move them all. And you got to be a play ahead. And that's the best coaches. They're preparing all the time to be a play ahead. And I want to be clear about when you walk away from coaching your team from fear and panic into beloved process of your identity that is out of the love that you know you have for you and for the game and for the kids, that you will be so much more driven to be at peace. One of the things that shifted is that my brain was illuminated to coach the game a play ahead at a time. So when something crazy adverse would happen, I wouldn't panic. In fact, it drove my players nuts because I would sit in the chair and not move, because there were times where I felt like the Lord was saying, be still and let it work itself out. Sometimes you sit there, you coaches know this, you sit there and you are like, I'm going to let them play out. I'm going to let them play their way out of this. Sometimes that's really smart. And sometimes we have to move in a place of peace and love and go, you know what? My job is to rescue them here. We're going to move a chess piece in this match and see if we can't shift the change of the game in our favor so we can win. Because again, we're all fierce competitors. We want to win. Trust the process over the panic. But that begins with your identity. Early on in my career, I thought the intensity, it meant that I was urgent, that I coached the game from urgency. If I wasn't correcting all the time and like coaching on the sideline all the time, I wasn't actually doing it. I wasn't actually doing my job. But what I was doing was creating anxious players because I was anxious all the time. They weren't confident. Some of them could overcome that because they were confident people. But what about the ones who aren't? Does that foster a culture of confidence when you're always anxious and you're grinding at the wheel, you're trying to get them to play a certain way because you're trying to fix A, B, C, D that's going on with them? I know for me it did not. I know it did not. I know it may have looked that way and it looks cool to be coaching all the time. But if you're coaching from a place of peace and your identity and not a place of panic and knowing that the process, it looks different. I'm not saying you're not coaching them during the game. Don't hear that. I'm saying that are you coaching them on the sideline in their seats during the game out of anxiousness, because it creates a level of anxious players. Players grow best in environments where correction feels like you believe in them and you love them, not from frustration. Think about that. Your players produce better on the court when the environment of the correction that you bring them comes from, I believe in you, I love you. Not from, I am so frustrated with you. I'm so disappointed in you. Most of that comes from a place of misidentification in us and insecurity. And hand raised, hand clap of praise, hand raised. That was me. I always, for 25 years, coached from a place of insecurity. Because I didn't think if I didn't coach them hard enough, if I didn't correct them enough, and we didn't win, I totally thought people didn't think I could coach. My boss, my family, my wife, my parent, whoever that saw us. So as formation specialists, what do we do then? We form out of patience. We grow our players in their identity when we're not so focused on immediate results. If you're okay with the process of time plus formation, they become better players and better people in the end, and so do you. And I will tell you that the best thing that happened to me is that when I started to walk in love and lead from a place of love and not fear, that I was more rested in peace. I coached players from a place of rested in peace. So, as we wind down here, I want to bring this back into a frame. What if that player isn't actually behind? What if he's becoming the thing that you want him to be? What if this season isn't about fixing their weaknesses, but about shaping their resilience their discipline in who they are and their belief. What if that's what this is about? You're not a behavior manager. You are a cultivator. You are a formation specialist, forming the hearts of those young men and young women. And I hope that you can hear, and I hope this kind of knocks the top off of any anxiousness that you feel in coaching and that you feel in leading. That when you know and you've been changed and you're being formed, a deeper understanding of, I am a being loved daughter or son of the King because of what he did for me, and that is becoming your identity, that will seat you in a place of peace. And you can coach and lead from there. And your players will feel that. I can't wait to have some players on this podcast soon. And so you can hear them say, he changed to this. So it's not just my words, that he went from this anxious coach to this seated in peace coach. Literally sitting down instead of pacing the sidelines. And again, I'm not saying that's wrong or bad. But what I am saying is that coaching and leading from that place is vastly different. And the formation of those kids' hearts are absolutely different because of who you've become, because you will form who they become. You will do that. So let's land the plane this way. If this has just hit home in your heart, I really want you to take some time and download the 10 things I wish I knew as a young head coach. I definitely think this would be one of those to add in there. The 10 things. This is actually a part of those 10 things. It's this kind of wisdom that you would have, that would have saved me and hopefully will save you of coaching from a place of full-blown reaction into forming. So I want to say this in conclusion. Coaching isn't fixing, it's forming. You're a formation specialist. And forming is not hard work, it's holy work. You're a formation specialist. Let's keep redeeming this game, one coach, one player, one family at a time. And I'm so grateful that you joined us today. And I sure hope this blesses you. Have a good one.